The Big 12 has been framed for murder, but it was video that killed the Pac-12 start. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from ESPN Central Texas, back from Alaska, home in Arkansas, and soon to be in the heartland. Ah, yes, Big 12 country, where we survived and the Pac-12 didn't. I want to tell you, thank you for making Locked On Big 12 your first listen every single day. A lot of folks responded about sending me shirts and jackets, and I'm telling you, I'll buy those off you. I need more Big 12 gear. I also bought a flag. Hooray. Dude, you know, I want to tell you a story about me. I didn't always know what ganja is, right? I didn't understand that it is something that shouldn't be talked about on a Little League baseball field. Here's where I'm going with this. Used to, right, somebody would hit a long ball in Little League baseball, typically not me, and I would go, ganja. Looking back, not, the brightest moment, not something I probably should have been doing as like an 11, 12-year-old, just ganja. Very rude awakening when somebody's like, whoa, what did you just say? And you know what that is? That is a lack of self-awareness. And it seems like George Kliavkoff and Pac-12 leadership, they are the ones at the Little League baseball games yelling ganja because they just don't really have any idea what's going on. There's zero self-awareness. We're going to get into the show later on about the travesty that is the existence of Ray Anderson and Michael Crow in the Big 12, Arizona State's leadership. But first, how about the Pac-12's leadership and this whole TV deal thing? I laughed when it came out that the plan was streaming for $20 million a team, which is really funny. Also, the escalator, right? It's like it is, somebody put it this way, like an OnlyFans for college football where you have to subscribe to be able to watch these games. And no one's going to do that. If you tell somebody, if somebody's in sales and you say, look, hey, listen, $1 million commission if you can sell the ocean to a whale. It doesn't work out like that, right? The whale already has the ocean. It already lives there. There's no reason that the whale doesn't want any more ocean. It's good. College football fans already live in college football world. They don't associate really with the Pac-12. They're good, especially with the biggest brands leaving the conference. No one's going to watch this. So when a TV deal is submitted, where the Big 12 has already signed a massive TV deal to sustain with ESPN for a long time. And then the Pac-12's like, okay, yeah, well, we can do one better. We just rejected ESPN's deal, because we're waiting on a bigger deal, on a better deal. And you know what happened? They didn't get it. They didn't get their big bad TV deal that we were promised for so long. They kept putting it off. How many people have come up with a good idea, a good thing, have this big intricate plan and say, hey, the more that I wait, the more that I delay these big plans, the more that I delay what I'm doing, the better. What kind of business model works that way? It's not sustainable, right? And it's one of the reasons I don't have a lot of remorse for the death of the Pac-12. The Big 12 did not kill the Pac-12. The Pac-12 killed itself. It said, hey, look, watch this. You think that we can survive for a long time? You're wrong. Because at every step of the way, they made incorrect, stupid, just completely unaware of like the who they are, right? Zero self-awareness. They made completely baffling moves because of a lack of self-awareness. The Pac-12 reportedly was offered by Fox a bid for 13 football games that would pay $35 to $40 million a year. That was the conference's B package, expecting ESPN and Amazon were going to be the A package. And guess what? Amazon never called back. And ESPN was like, dude, you just turned us down for more money when you don't have a product that we are going to make money off of. You can't ask for, if I go out right now, and so I host the Baylor football kickoff show on Saturday mornings on ESPN Central Texas. And, there are ads. We have ads spots that go in there. If I go ask the local mom and pop shop for $10 million, they're not going to give it to me. They're not going to give it to me. There's no reason to. And it's what we have here, right? If there's a reasonable number, $20 million, $25 million, the Pac-12 is at a point where you just kind of have to say yes. Hell, if somebody gave me that for my pregame show, I'd be over the moon. You have to have a certain level of self-awareness the league did not have. And what I think is maybe even a grosser example of a lack of self-awareness are comments made by Ray Anderson and Michael Crow. As you can tell, I'm really antsy to have that conversation that is just going to dominate today's show in the middle segment. But the Pac-12 goes in to NBC. They called them 3 times, and NBC says no all 3 times. CBS and Fox both were willing to work out a deal, according to Sports Business Journal, and that was a year ago. And the Pac-12 just got so cocky that it said we would rather die. We would rather take a chance on ourselves and completely implode as a league. They rejected an offer. And once they rejected ESPN's offer, ESPN turned to the Big 12 and said, look, man, we can give you $380 million a year. And the Big 12 did not bat an eye. Absolutely said yes. And that's why Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah have moved to the Big 12 conference. It's not because Brett Yormark is yes, he's a businessman, right? Yes, he's good at business, but he didn't make the first move on the chessboard. The Pac-12 had the white pieces. They're the ones that went first. And they did that really weird, stupid thing where you take the bishop and just slide him across the board. I think that's what this is. I think. And then immediately you die, right? The Pac-12 got put in checkmate so quickly because the Pac-12 handed the Big 12 its own death certificate and then said, maybe we can get a deal with Apple TV. And you know what Washington State said? This is so unbelievable to me. Washington State in the last week made the remark that they were shocked that nobody liked this TV deal. Washington State was floored. They're like, oh, dude, this is cool. We're chilling, whatever. It's the quality of the Pac-12. I don't think they understand. There seems to be a really weird misunderstanding here where the leadership is overvaluing and then Washington State's undervalued, right? Some of these schools are like, oh, dude, we'll take whatever we can get. One of those is now in the Big 12 at Arizona State. Arizona State was riding the Titanic all the way down. They're like, dude, we're good. We're not going to lead the ship. They remind me of the weird first mate, the assistant to the captain, the guy. It's like, you're just a cabin boy. You don't have to die with the ship. We have a lifeboat for you. And they're like, nope, this is all about valor. I'm gonna go down, and that is just what Ray Anderson, the athletic director, and Michael Crow, the president, have continued to prove. And boy, when I tell you, I am excited to dog on those guys on Locked On Big 12, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You best bet this is your team, and it is every day. When I tell you I'm not wearing underwear, I am not lying. I'm not. I won't prove it. I cannot prove it. I can. That would get me canned. I'm not. And I'm a big underwear guy, right? I really enjoy wearing underwear. But Bird Dogs sent me another order this week of awesome clothing, and it has built-in underwear. I am wearing them right now. I would stand up, but then that would put my crotchular area on the screen, and I'm going to avoid you that. I did. They sent me a free hat, too. Let's see if I have. Yep, they sent me a free little hat here. It's a golf hat, and I love it. So I've become a big Bird Dogs fan this past couple weeks as they keep sending me stuff, and it all feels great. I feel like I am wearing underwear because they're built in. I can't recommend Bird Dogs enough, man. I was skeptical at first because I was like, sometimes you look at a price tag, but really the price is great compared to a Lululemon, and they fit better, and they look better. My mom thought they were Lululemon. This is like cloud knit fabric, so it feels like I'm not wearing anything, and it looks like khaki, but it stretches, and it feels like I'm walking on air. I feel naked, which I would usually be uncomfortable with, and I'm not. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege and enter the promo code. Listen to this. Enter the promo code LockedOnCollege, and they'll give you a free hat. You can wear the hat that I wear. They'll give you that free hat. birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege, promo code LockedOnCollege. Please do it. birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege, promo code LockedOnCollege. Get a free hat, man. You will not take your bird dogs off. I can promise you that. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege. I don't think there is a further level of idiocy than Ray Anderson and Michael Crow. If you don't know Ray Anderson, he is good for you. He is the athletic director at Arizona State. He's the one that said publicly, for zero reason whatsoever. I love West Virginia fans, by the way, and the response to this. He said publicly, I'm not going to Morgantown. I'll send all my other deputies and people. They can all go to Morgantown. I can tell you this, going into the Big 12, I'm not going to Morgantown. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? This is you ever seen Weekend at Bernie's? Bernie, spoiler alert, Bernie dies. And he's dead. They have these couple of guys who are spending the weekend at Bernie's are propping him up. Ray Anderson and Michael Crow are the two guys propping up. The Pac-12 is Bernie, and these guys, they are propping up the dead man. Look at him. He's still alive. You couldn't be more stupid. Somebody invited you onto their yacht. This is the way. Here's an analogy for you. You can use this at your water cooler. The people like this one. Quentin Tarantino invites you on his yacht, and you're happy to be there, right? He's not the most famous person, right? But it's Quentin Tarantino. He's pretty famous. You get on his yacht, and then you reluctantly, you had a few more tickets, so you brought a couple of buddies with you. They just so happen to be Ray Anderson and Michael Crow, which they've never been on a yacht before. The yacht's the Big 12, by the way. They've never been on a yacht before that's this nice. And what's the first thing they do when they meet Quentin Tarantino? See, I just shook Tarantino's hand and said, thank you for your service of allowing me on your yacht. And then Michael Crow spit in his face and Ray Anderson kicked him in the crotch. Why? I don't know. Quentin Tarantino invited you on his yacht. Is he a weird guy? Sure. Entertainment value? 100%. Is he Clint Eastwood? No. Nobody would spit in Clint Eastwood's face. That's the SEC. That's his yacht. But this is still an awesome yacht. And what did we do? The buddies that I invited, if I'm Utah, if I'm Arizona, the buddies that I invited are just being completely stupid. Ray Anderson says he's not going to Morgantown. Why would you say that? Why would you open hand slap another member of this conference that you've just been life rafted into? And then Michael Crow, his response to getting an invite into the Big 12 is, we didn't want to do this. Again, he is the assistant to the captain of the ship. Because the captain, is it James something? Who was the captain of the Titanic? This should be in my show notes. The captain of the Titanic decided he was going down with the ship, right? This is, let's give credit to the guy. Edward Smith, sea captain. The assistant to Edward Smith was like, hey, dude, I'm going down with you. And Ed's like, brother, this is kind of my moment. Like, yeah, you're good. You can just go in the life raft. And then reluctantly, the assistant to the captain ended up in the life raft and looks around the life raft and goes, I hate all of you. I just want you to know that you're really ugly and you smell bad. And I wouldn't be on this life raft if I have to sit next to this guy. I would rather die than sit next to this guy. How do you do that? How do you do that? Can somebody please make sense to me on how you do that? It's blowing my mind. I have chills right now. I'm tearing up because I just feel bad for some people. I feel bad for a lack of awareness. I feel bad that these people exist in our society and they walk among us. Ray Anderson, 67 years old, looks and sounds a lot older. He was apparently really floored with the idea of having this streaming package on Apple. I guess he did not know what a smartphone was. He really thought the Apple TV package was going to be great. He was the guy in the Pac-12 board meeting that immediately unmuted the Zoom call and was like, dude, yes, we're in. Pac-12 is saved. And then the second the conference was not saved, the second that Arizona had to, such little brother syndrome, Arizona had to drag Arizona State into the league. And what was the response the second that Michael Crow got onto the big yacht? I hate it here. You all suck. I wish I was on my old, smaller, gross yacht. I wish I was on the ship that sunk. I don't know, man. The TV deal was embarrassing. It's laughable. $20 million is just stupid, especially the escalators. Like, yeah, it's $20 million. You can make way more than that. You won't. You won't. They can, again, you can say your commission's going to be great, but if you can't make a sale, then your commission's zero. And then Ray Anderson, your athletic director, says, I hate it here. It's gross and weird. And then Michael Crow says, this truck stop conference is not for me. My pitch, fire him, give him the can, send those guys, Michael Crow, an Iowa State alum, threw the javelin there. I say you give him the can and you put Ray Anderson with him, or better idea, you make Ray Anderson and Michael Crow deputy commissioners of the Pac-12. And then they leave Arizona State. Well, I'll take Arizona State. I don't hate their fans. I don't hate the school. I think they're going to be a really strong addition to this conference. Ray Anderson and Michael Crow will not be really strong additions to this conference. I think you take in Arizona State, you make Michael Crow and Ray Anderson deputy commissioners of the Pac-12, and you put them in the corner with George Kliavkoff, and you let them play with blocks and Legos. And just every day, the nurse is wheeling them down the hall, and they're just TV deal. Oh, TV streaming. Oh, Apple TV. As the nurse just slowly puts them back in bed. That is the level of delusion that we are at with Ray Anderson, Michael Crow, and their buddy George Kliavkoff. If you like the Pac-12 so much, stay. You guys can stay. I'm totally good with that because the Big 12 has options, including last year's national champion in college basketball. Should they take it? Should the Big 12 make a move for Gonzaga or UConn? On Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Hey, this is your conference every day. Dude, I love to wager. Football's back. And when I tell you that I did the thing where I made some money on a football game, I went in and I put a wager on the Browns and the Jets. And I get it, right? Maybe I'm degenerate for doing so, but I did because FanDuel.com/locked on makes it so flippin' easy. I had a parlay of the over at 33 points, which is kind of a high over-under for a preseason game. I had the over picked, and I had the Jets picked to cover -2. Well, obviously the Jets lost, but at halftime, I used FanDuel's live betting option because I realized, oh, shoot, I think the Browns are going to come back in this game. So bingo, I just put a bunch of money on the Browns, made back the money I would have lost, and made more. Because of FanDuel, they make it easy. Pick any team right now to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. Listen to this. You can use those bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders. Right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner at FanDuel.com, you get bonus bets every time that team wins in the regular season. That's crazy, dog. That is crazy. FanDuel.com/locked on. Start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook at FanDuel.com/locked on. Go in right now, take your free bets. FanDuel.com/locked on. Gonzaga and UConn. I don't love it. I don't love the idea of taking basketball-only schools. To me, it's this weird Notre Dame syndrome of, is Notre Dame in the ACC? Well, the football team plays a lot of Big Ten teams. Are you in wrestling, right? Which wrestling is a very obscure NCAA sport. Oklahoma State is playing Fresno State in a Big 12 conference matchup in wrestling. We don't really bat an eye to that. We don't say like, oh, that's crazy. Fresno State's in the Big 12. We don't talk about that a lot. But it's kind of funky. It's kind of weird. The reason it's not discussed is because wrestling is not a major sport. Sorry, Oklahoma State fans. I know you're really good, and I'm rooting for you. So we're at a point right now where why would you muddy the water with Gonzaga and UConn in just basketball when you already have the nation's #1 basketball conference? You have Baylor, a Final Four. There could be a Final Four of Baylor, Kansas, Arizona, and I'd say Kansas State just because I like Jerome Tang right now. That could be a legitimate Final Four in the Big 12. One of those teams has to finish 4th in the conference. And I don't know if you need to bring in UConn and Gonzaga to knock those teams down. Not to say that UConn and Gonzaga would dominate the Big 12. I don't know that they would dominate exactly, though one did just win a national championship and the other was in a championship. Might I remind you, they lost by a lot to the Baylor Bears. You're in a spot where you could bring those teams in, and who you're going to be hurting is like a UCF, one of your bigger, a brand that is bigger than Gonzaga. You're going to hurt an Arizona State. You're going to hurt BYU because those teams are likely going to lose to Gonzaga and UConn. And I don't know if you need to step on the toes of a money-making sport with these new teams you just brought in by adding basketball-only schools. Does it help you revenue-wise? Sure. Not significantly, but you're not going to lose money. If you do take Gonzaga and UConn, you're not going to lose money. And it shows the strength of the Big 12 to me that last year's national champion in college basketball is scratching and clawing at the door, that if Brett Yormark picked up the phone tomorrow and said, hey, yeah, sure, we're chilling, come on, that they would say yes, 100%. The fact that the Big 12 has a direct line to last year's national champion, and that champion is calling every day, is like, hey, dude, hey, what about today? Can we do it today? I think that's the way this is going. That if the Big 12 ponied up and said, I say pony up, if the Big 12 just said, hey, UConn, you're in, UConn's on its way. But I don't know if you need that. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again today. You got to stop. At some point, it makes sense to stop. Smell the roses, look around, be thankful for what you have, and just let it sit. 16 teams is a lot. With Texas and OU in that as well, you have 18 teams playing in your conference in a 2-year span. Not that I think expansion should stop permanently, but for at least a little bit. You have 8 new mouths to feed at the table, and you have 8 returning members. There is a need to value. There's a need to value those returning members by keeping it where it is. Don't go to an Oklahoma State who has been loyal. Don't go to a TCU who's been loyal and say, hey, look, we're going to add 10 new teams. They now outvote you. That's not the way to do this, especially with Gonzaga and UConn that bring, nothing in football. They bring nothing in football. Decent-ish baseball at Gonzaga, at least. Men's basketball, women's basketball, that's going to push the needle. It's going to be huge for the Big 12 if they make this decision. I won't cry about it, but I don't think it's the right time. And this is why, is there a need to do it? There was a need to expand to 14, 16 teams. There was a need to bring in these power brands from the Pac-12 to stay relevant as a Power 3, Power 4 conference in college athletics. That was a need. Ask yourself this, tell your buddies this in the office when they say, hey, look, my UConn Huskies are going to the Big 12. Why do we need you? That's what you ask them. You say, why do we need you? Gonzaga fans that are in your Twitter feed saying, oh, yeah, we'd love to go to the Big 12. Ask them, why do we need you? They're great. They're great brands in college basketball. But the Big 12 is already the best conference there. And I don't want to shortchange a UCF, a Cincinnati, a BYU by bringing in teams that are just going to push them further down the line. And I don't want to disrespect the hateful 8, the 8 who stayed loyal, by saying there are now 10 members who are brand new who can outvote you on stuff. You don't matter as much anymore as newbies, money, basketball-only schools. If you're going to take them, there needs to be some pretty strict stipulations that say, hey, we're taking you as a favor, because the Big 12 does not need Gonzaga and UConn. I do need you to come back tomorrow, though, please. Oh, my gosh, please. I'll be talking about stuff, right? The Big 12 and everything. Can you please just subscribe? I saw 87% of people that watch this show, 87% are not subscribed. How do you think that makes my heart feel? Did anybody consider me in this? Like the show, comment on the show, do all the stuff that people do, I guess. It means a lot to me, by the way. This reception's been great. Why stop now? This has been, it always will be. I'll be here forever. I love it. Thank you. Locked on. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Big 12.